HRockstars Tribe, and this is an HR Rockstars first and Ignite hangout that is going to be focusing on open workplaces. And tonight we have quite a panel with us. Some of my dear friends, and we're going to have a 45-minute discussion. And from this discussion, I really hope that you can, as leaders, take some bits of inspiration to help you action what an open workplace is all about. We're going to be talking about what is spirit and flow based on open space technology. All of us were, except for Josh, but we're going to be with him next week in Michigan, but many of us have experienced open space technology in New York. And so what this is really going to be is humanity in action, and what humanity in action and what engagement in action truly looks like when people are working in bliss and achieving peak performance in record-breaking times, as I often say. So at this point, I typically say I'm not going to go on and be the talking head. So I'm going to start with, because I love putting Suzanne on the spot, I'm going to start with you, Suzanne, and then Linda, and then go with the guys. And I'm going to offer a few comments to allow us to open up the discussion with questions. And this is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, HR Rockstars is a wild and woolly group, right? And so this is going to be spontaneous, and for all of you listening to us, to take some key takeaways to improve the way you lead in the workplace and the new workplace that we're reinventing. Suzanne, over to you, my friend.
Hello, thank you very much. Thank you, Johann. And I'm really excited to be here. I'm here from Sarasota. And I think this next 45 minutes or so that we're going to be together is going to be like an experience in open space, because we're all going to be our diverse opinions together and all our perspectives. I'm really, really excited to be here. I'm a business strategist, an open space facilitator, and I really think the world needs us all to roll up our sleeves and get to work on creativity, innovation, and engagement. So we're in for a really cool time, engagement in action, and I'm very grateful and excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, and thanks for being there. And I will say that I appreciate your friendship a lot. You've transformed my life, and I am totally grateful for you and for being here. Linda.
Thank you. I'm Linda Stevenson. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, originally from Boston, Massachusetts. And 20 years ago, I trained in open space, and I thought the whole world was my market, and it still is. And yet our structures haven't really changed that much. The invitational part of open space is about engaging from the heart. And it's just such a beautiful thing. When I was at Suzanne's event, the World Open Space in Florida last year, I just was reminded personally, life can be this good when you connect from the heart and let the structures emerge around it. So I'm just happy to be part of this incredible team that Suzanne has put together. We are self-organizing. We're all allowed to contribute the best that we can contribute, and we all support each other, and it all, as Derek once said, it's a beautiful mosaic. And what Johann is doing with the spontaneity and the joy, it's just a very exciting time, and I'm thrilled to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, Linda. And gosh, I'm so happy that this is live, because I can't, keep up with all the gold nuggets that are coming from you, and that is pure bliss. You're so inspiring. So thanks. It's the first time that we hang out, and it's great to have you in the HR Rockstars Tribe. I'm going to go immediately to Josh, because I just happened to say his name.
Fair enough. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Allan Dykstra. I'm a consultant, author, and speaker, and I focus, always kind of focused on creating what I call a work revolution. It's helping us reinvent organizations so that they're human and meaningful places for people to be, that they're more life-giving than they are life-sucking. And so everything that I do kind of revolves around trying to make that, trying to make energizing, life-giving places to work a reality for everybody. And so it's yeah, it's I love working with all these folks, and I think this is going to be a really fun conversation. So that's all I'll say for my intro.
Thank you so much, Josh, and it's a pleasure to have you. And all of those words resonate with all of us, and my hope is that we're going to make it resonate for all the ones that are listening and being inspired by your presence and those of others. Derek, I'm going to go with you last because before the hangout, you know, we're such in a calm state that we are all listening to you and go, he said it. So I'm going to leave you the last bits before Kevin introduces himself right now.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Kevin O'Brien joining you yesterday from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I am an organizational alchemist and open space facilitator. My work is in helping new organizations form and existing organizations transform into meaningful places to work. So I'm very much aligned with the type of thing that Josh was describing and hoping to support Linda and Suzanne and Derek and all of us in this work. And I'm happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you, Kevin. I love the emphasis on alchemist. I think you are embodying the new workplace alchemist that the world needs, and I'm so grateful that you're here. You know, you're a dear friend, so I'm really grateful for your presence. Derek, I mean, you've been so patient with me and us right now. We're just with you.
Some days, Johann, I remember. I get tweeted about the silliest little things, and other days I remember that life is just way too short to be impatient.
There we go.
So I'm based in Chicago, and I'm currently in San Francisco attending the Modern Management Methods Conference, formerly the Lean Kanban North America Conference. And I've been spending the past 2 weeks probably interviewing and working with the nominees for the Brickell Key Award, which is people who are contributing most in leadership to the advancement of modern management, specifically using Lean and Kanban methods. I've learned a lot from them and have shared a lot of good ideas, so I'm really kind of jazzed and juiced right now. I'll describe myself as I've got my own consulting business helping organizations treat their employees more like human beings. In practice, I think that sounds a little more glamorous than work actually is. In practice, people hire me because they actually want their workplace to be more effective, and oftentimes are even looking for bigger sticks with which to hit people. That stick is usually labeled "do more with less." But let's face it, do more with less is a stick to hit people with. So what I help these organizations discover is that they actually need more focus and less bossing, and that human beings have so many millions of years of evolution behind our skills at how we learn and how we figure things out. And yet the environments in which we put them continues to keep the Dilbert comic in business and creates movies like Office Space. So I'm generally on site with a client, or doing conference events like this, or doing whatever I can to raise awareness. It's certainly not a life of wealth and incessant leisure, but it certainly beats the cube life, and I get to help people play games with sticky notes on walls. So that's a pretty awesome thing to do. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Derek. I love this playing games with sticky notes. That's a nice way to represent open space. And oh, Derek just left. He's going to be back. So hopefully, maybe the sticky notes stuck. Let's see here. Let me just, this is what's fun with Hangouts is we're spontaneous, and we're always there to support each other. So I just sent an invite to Derek. to rejoin the group, and maybe it's his bandwidth in the hotel right now. But as I mentioned at the beginning, so thanks for all of these intros and for really putting your heart on the table. Each of you are remarkable people. You're truly inspired. You have such drive. I can feel your drive. Feel like driving my BMW right now, but that's, you know, that's beside the point. The point is that Derek is back. Derek just walked in the room. So as I am saying, you know, at the beginning of this hangout I mentioned, for the leaders that are listening to us, you want to get some concrete examples of, you know, what does an open workplace look like? Because as I was saying to Suzanne before we launched into the actual hangout earlier, when I was coming back from work in the car, not picking up a ticket this time, thank you. Suzanne noticed that once, but anyway, I'm just joking around here. But the point is, you know, there's a space between being a caterpillar and a butterfly. There are many people right there in workplaces that are caterpillars. They don't know. They want to be butterflies, but they don't quite know how. And I think all of us are somewhat butterflying, and at some point you got to take a leap of faith to be in that spirit and flow to reinvent the workplace. So for the people that are listening to us, like, where do I start? How can I feel empowered? What can I do? It can be simple things, join a movement, help your colleague, but where do I start to start living that engagement in action? So Suzanne and all, I'm going to you know, leave you to start musing, and we can pick up on each other's bliss here and energy, but I really want leaders out there to feel what engagement in action feels like based on that open space principles and spirit, and what Josh mentioned in terms of, you know, reinventing the work and being energized. So I'm a leader, I'm listening to us right now, and I feel like, okay, this is all good, but what can I do? How can I embody that open space, open workplace spirit? What you know, what's under my sphere of influence, to quote Josh in one of our earlier discussions this month? What can I do? Where do I start? Pretty daunting question.
Were you directing that to me?
Sure. I
Johann?
mean,
okay.
Suzanne,
Well,
so this is really an open question for you.
I think
to
what I'll
start talking
do
about this.
is I will address it to the leaders.
Yes.
And before we started this hangout, Derek Wade was talking about open space, and he was talking that it was an invitation. And right now, we're facing some huge challenges. Business isn't what it used to be. It's complex. There's a, you know, we joke a lot about, you know, how miserable it is and how people are not feeling valued. They're not having the opportunity to contribute. And it all hinges on invitation. I think we can all agree we're in a different world, and leaders are often talking about creativity and innovation and financial results. Well, if I was to say one thing, if you want to jumpstart in that direction, the turnkey solution is open space. It's a way, and open space, what is it? It's about inviting the talent you have in your organization, that pent-up talent that comes in the silos, in the different sectors, different ages. I mean, they're just waiting to be invited to have a voice in the things that will lead you to the greatest success. I mean, it's the best ROI, return on investment, return on equity. As Linda often says, you know, it's a return on involvement and return on engagement. So we will just rename our financial terms to people terms. And so, you know, I'll end it there, but that would be my message to leadership in the language that they talk every day. I come from manufacturing and telecommunications. And, you know, this is getting exhausting, and it's time to get to work and invite people. So that's it. And I'll let others pick up from there.
Thanks, Suzanne. I'm not going to respond. I'm just for now. I'm just going to invite others to pick up on your bits of inspiration. I love the word turnkey.
I'm good.
I want to point something out about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to take another direction, so if you're going to build on Suzanne's, go ahead, Derek.
Yeah. So as those of you who know me know, I can get kind of meta. But I want to point something out about this interaction and Suzanne right now. What I was going to mention when in terms of answering what is there something that you can do, my answer was going to be to do the smallest experiment. Johann mentioned the caterpillar and the butterfly, but the thing is that there's a part in between the caterpillar and the butterfly that is a very messy, gooey, ugly, nasty, scary thing. And the caterpillar makes that huge leap and turns into a mass of goo and then eventually becomes a butterfly. And that's a hard sell. That can be a very hard sell for people. So when Suzanne said that the key is open space, to open space in some way, there are many ways. One thing that I would encourage every leader to do is to do whatever experiment you feel comfortable with, and invite whatever experiment your organization feels comfortable with. Because whether that experiment is a whole leap of faith and through the chrysalis and into the butterfly, or whether it's just a small experiment that becomes an action that changes your thinking, and then your thinking changes your action, that can work too. The thing I was going to point out about Suzanne is that
we're taking notes.
Suzanne is a living example of how energy and daring can be infectious, because I can sit here and say small moves, small changes, evolve your way to success, and then as I just see Suzanne smile and I just see the energy and I hear the energy, I kind of think, well, the heck with that, let's just go full bore. And that's another lesson. Amplify those people in your organization who do have courage and do have positivity. Let them be heard, help them be heard, support them, because as you invite them, they in turn invite others. And just right now, I cannot express just how much I have felt invited to take a leap just because of Suzanne. So thank you for modeling, and not just saying, but modeling the behavior, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks. No, I just want to say thanks, really. Josh, you wanted to say something? I can feel your energy.
I think Derek had the perfect setup for what I wanted to add to this conversation as well, which is a point around modeling. I think what we're seeing in organizations now is the capacity for leaders. Leadership is requiring new things from these people who are kind of stepping up into leadership positions, and I think a couple of these are holding space for allowing people to be invited, and it's also modeling these behaviors in order to show people what to do and how to be, and I think to that end, I think that this point about modeling, I think this inward look of increasing your own self-awareness is really crucial for anyone who wishes to lead in the context of tomorrow. Because if we don't know how we're showing up, if we don't know what's energizing our behaviors, if we don't know why we do the things that we do, which many of us don't. I certainly didn't pay attention to any of that stuff before I started doing this work. And I feel like I've only kind of just begun to get a glimpse of it, but I think we're often our own biggest mystery. We don't know why we act the way we do. And so whatever you can do to increase your own self-awareness, I think that's a huge leadership capacity that will be required of us tomorrow.
Wow. I'm so grateful that we actually recorded what you just said at the end there. We are often our own mystery and we don't know it. I mean, that is pretty awesome. Guess what? It's so true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. So I guess stopping to, I mean, for me, is just, what comes to mind is, opening your own heart to yourself, being self-aware of who you are. And while you were reading, I'm going to have to quote Akim because, he's probably not listening, and with Mark Schiller, but in his intro, just to pick up on your point, and then we'll leave it to Kevin or Linda to add something. Reverend Mona, the facilitator of my desert experience, had the audacity to call me a doormat. How dare she? So, yeah, let's stop acting like doormats in the workplace and just be ourselves. Stop asking permission, but, and I think that's what open space does. But it starts and ends with the person, with the leader. Kevin, Linda?
Well, you reminded me of that Einstein quote, you can't solve a problem from the same consciousness that created it. So expanding the consciousness of everyone in the organization, certainly with the leadership, is very important. And I love that, I think it's a Chinese proverb, if you want to know about water, do not ask a fish. In other words, the fish doesn't know about water. And I feel as if open space is based on the power of self-organization, which is not about individual self, it's about the self as the whole system. And it happens all by itself. That's how the universe creates and innovates. And as we were talking earlier, Johann, in the moment, with all of the resources at hand, with everyone contributing and enjoying it and being fulfilled, meaningful, connected, and human, is to use Josh's words, so that we're already living in self-organization, and yet in some of our more rigid structures, especially the workplace, we pretend we don't know what it is. When anything gets done, it's usually people who care take responsibility. So open space is just literally opening it up to allow more people to come in and contribute the diversity, and it's not just diversity of race or gender, it's the diversity of, I mean, look at all the experiences right now on this hangout, the talents and everything that we have to contribute and bring forward when we're invited to from our hearts. So I would say, yes, a consciousness for leaders to understand that this is how the universe works, and to invite it is to come home, is to let your people be connected, human, and meaningful. And the other part of that is, guess what? If you take that leap, and in Zen we talk about leaping off the 100-foot pole, if you get into the goo, if you take that leap, you will get everything you, in your more caterpillar phase, wanted, of the high performance, of the trust, of the collaborations, and the deepening of community. Everything you ever wanted through more traditional interventions is here right now, this moment for you. So I just can't say enough about how simple it can be, and yet, as with expanding our own consciousness, simple but not easy. We have years of conditioning, years of limiting beliefs, and to work on our own awakening is equally as important and is going to contribute to the awakening in the workplace. So just notice when anything happens, it's people who care, took responsibility, and were invited to do that. So I had something else that came into my mind, but it's gone out. I guess that's function being the oldest person on this call. So.
And the youngest at heart.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. Linda, you are an amazing person. To invite us to come home, that's, you first said it. I mean, I really took that home. Wow, the butterflies are really flying right now, for real. Kevin, I'm gonna have to put you on the spot because, well, that's just.
Well, it's my turn.
Exactly.
So I think your question originally was around what can leaders do right now, and I'll start by saying that we are living in a myth. our global society is living in a myth, and that's the myth that we are able to control things, that we actually have control. And I think one of the things that you can do to test out the power of the myth, well, actually test out the weakness of the myth, is to come to an open space event. If you come and you experience the power of self-organization, it will shake you. It will give you this questioning as to why did this work so well? And I think for leaders, when you experience the fact that the world is self-organizing and that there isn't really this thing called control that we all think there is, or we all did think there was, you will become maybe open, and I think this is where Josh is talking about a little bit. There's a need to kind of go on your personal journey, but you can start by trying to give up control over things in your life. And when you give up control, what you're going to do is you're going to make room for emergence. So it's not that you're giving up your ability to make good decisions, your ability to use your intuition. You're actually inviting your intuition into the room, inviting your own inner sense of knowing into your decision-making processes instead of the rational mind and its wanting to control. So I would say that try to listen to your intuition, try to use your whole body, everything that's in you that you know tells you things all the time. Try to listen to that and let it guide you in your process of giving up control and your process of transforming to this new paradigm. It's not going to be easy, but I think it's going to be worth it.
And
yeah.
I just remembered what I was going to say. When we were talking earlier this morning, Kevin mentioned that
Harrison going to jump in.
Harrison mentions that
Go ahead.
In his one of his in WaveWriter, an example that it produced 2 days of open space produced 15,000% increase in productivity. And this, I mean, if you can read the AT&T story in WaveWriter, and the 25 people in 2 days did what everybody knew would take more people 10 months. So that's where the 15,000% in productivity comes from. So we have a process that's been demonstrated to prove 15,000% in productivity, and yet it's still a hard sell. So I think if people are willing to open space and just give it a try and see what kind of productivity, what kind of trust and collaborations appear, they may embrace it. And we're not asking them to throw out the formal structures, but let's honor the informal structure of self-organizing that's really going on at some level. Open space is just a deliberate self-organizing that just blows it out of the water. So here it is. And you can use it in combination with the more formal structures. So it is a transformation. It doesn't have to happen by blowing up the formal structures. We have to start somewhere and honor what's been going on, but it is time for the transformation to happen.
The word that comes to my mind is life-giving. Josh mentioned it.
Yeah.
And maybe the time has come for living, as if we're not living when we're working. It's kind of,
Well, we say that, right? Work-life balance, right? We have to have an important work-life balance. So if work is on one side of the scale, then, or if life is on one side of the scale, then that means that on the other side of the scale must be not life.
Yeah.
And that's really disturbing.
It's a very zero-sum way to think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See you later, honey. I'm going off to death. I'll be back home and I'll be alive somewhere around 9 o'clock after a beer or two.
Oh gosh.
I have a I think there's a lot of things that I want to say, and so when I feel that urge, I want to turn it around and instead ask. So I'd like to invite, and I would like to ask everyone on the call, Kevin, I think, nailed it with the word myth, because the control is a myth. However, at some point in the past, the control structures may have been more sane than they are now. I believe the world has changed, and what once may have been useful is now not only not useful, but actually harmful, and we are living in the myth of the past. I would like to invite and ask everybody to maybe characterize what you think has changed. Maybe that would help folks wake up from the myth.
Mm.
Derek, I don't know if I'll jump in to just say, I find it's complex, and with communication so transparent and everywhere, it's certainly a big trigger that has broken down this illusion of control leading to success. And I maybe want to be like not a dissenting voice, but another voice here to say, like, we're having an event in Minneapolis, and we chose Middle America. It's a vibrant business community. And what are we going to do there? For 2 days, we're launching this event with all of us there. And we want to give people the opportunity to experience what an amazing, engaged workplace could be like in almost a safe environment, because they're not going to be at work to do this beta test. They're really going to be, and we would love to have leaders and have a whole host of other people. I mean, Josh talks in his book about the detail doers. Those are the invisible tribes that are there doing amazing, amazing work. And I think we know, like, if anybody that's smart in business today knows, go see the executive assistant that works for one of the leaders, and you'll find out everything. And, we have all this talent, and I want to, again, tell leaders and talk with leaders and all of us together. Leaders have been rewarded for delivering results under a controlled framework and a predictability. The designs of our systems are designed that way. And I think we all have to, when I say I'm dissenting, it's like we're all in this team together. When I say we're going to roll up our sleeves, we're doing it all together, kind of as equals. Yes, there's a natural hierarchy in things, but that's the invitation that people would be so amazed how exciting it can be. Like, the future that's waiting for us can be exciting. And it will be incremental steps, but we need a larger dream that fits somewhere to the world we're at, rather than just incremental steps. They're going to be there. So, yes, it's complex, and Derek, I do want to say that, but I'm more infused by what's happening that's pulling us to the future. And I think we know that. We know it's possible. And I'd like Kevin to talk a little bit about his experience at W.L. Gore, because that's a successful example of a company that was living in open space, even if they weren't doing open space.
Sure. I'd be happy to talk about that. I'll just answer Derek's question. I think what's changed is that we have evolved. We are evolving right now as we're talking, and our technologies that we've developed globally have helped this evolution speed up. So it's not that the technologies that we invented in the past, the structures, the systems, were inappropriate. They had a place, but I think we are now at a new place in our global experience. So we're going to have to evolve the structures that we see around us today. Yeah. And my old company, Gore, was kind of a place where the founders felt there was something different that could be done in building a company. They had a belief. They're heavily influenced by Douglas McGregor theory X versus theory Y, which says that theory Y is that humans actually want to do work, and the role of leadership isn't to tell them what to do, but it's to invite them to find things that are really exciting for them to work on. And if you do that, people will be highly productive. So they created an organization around this belief, and for over 50 years now, it's been pretty successful. And I'd say that the test case of Gore is not the only one. There are many others. I know with Josh's business, he's working with organizations, many organizations that are, probably doing the same type of inviting now, or hoping to do the same type of inviting. And so I think the test cases are becoming more frequent, and we are going to see this process of evolution speed up amongst our organizations. And the questions that people need to be asking themselves are, am I in one of those places, or do I know that I'm not? And I would like to start to be a part of this evolution and help it along and help create it. And that's a personal question.
I think the magic is sitting on a bouncing ball wherever you are.
Did you know that I'm sitting on a bouncing ball right now?
I just could feel it. Oh, Josh, thanks, Kevin. You're so much fun. Oh gosh. Gosh, Josh. So Josh, you're working. So you've been secretly conspiring and working with all of these leaders and organizations. And when are we going to hear more about that?
Oh, well, yeah, we certainly can talk more about that. Linda, did you have something that you wanted to add there? I thought I heard you.
Go ahead, Josh.
Well, yeah, I think that there really are so many great examples of companies that are trying to do this in a more human way. I think it is becoming more prominent, more prevalent, which is very energizing. I think it's very exciting. It's very good. The sad part to me though is that we're still not there from a larger perspective. The statistics tell us pretty clearly, and engagement is terrible. 2 out of 3 people disengaged. You look at passion in the workplace, it's even worse. 80% of people aren't passionate about their work. And so even though we do have glimmers of hope, we do have light shining through the cracks. It's starting. The revolution's begun. We're moving. I think what I feel amongst this group particularly is that we'd like to accelerate it. We'd like to see that. We'd like to hasten this. Let's all. What can we do to help leaders open more space and to model better, more conscious human behaviors at work? What can we do to get more of this going on? And I think that's what's really exciting to me, and also really necessary, I think.
And I just, before we go on, I just want to say on our behalf hello to Ellen Nieberding. You don't see the feeds here, but she is like so awesome, modeling the behaviors I think that we're all talking about in leaders. She is, going one feed after the other, picking up on our bliss and your comments. So, Ellen, I want to say thank you, and I've also turned to her and asked her if she wanted to ask a question. So, as she is probably formulating that in her mind, we can continue the discussion. But so, Linda, I'm going to turn to you immediately because I think, as Josh mentioned, you wanted to pick up on something, or just opening a space here for you to say a few things about, the sense of invitation I think we're talking about, and the invitation, as you mentioned, to that feels like coming home. How many organizations out there don't feel like home, and why do we need to separate work and life or we do it constantly, as Derek mentioned?
I just wanted to get back to Derek's question about what's changed, and I think what's changed is people will not put up with this anymore. Doing more with less, working long hours. I know someone who quit his corporate job and is doing some independent consulting, and I think the younger generation is looking for the new leadership that's adaptive, shared. They're looking for that seamless life that's not work over here and my life over here, my family there. They deserve this, and so the younger generation just isn't going to put up with some things in a slower time that my generation put up with, and people are leaving or corporations, so that there is a real issue here. And you can only work harder with less for so long before everything breaks down. So I think that myth of control it looked pretty good maybe 30 years ago, or certainly 50 years ago. But even then, it really was an illusion. And now it's like, you know, the Wizard of Oz. You know, we're looking at what's really going on. And people deserve to have a life that's fulfilling and that contributes and, you know, to the whole. And that's, you know, open space is what, you know, Derek was saying earlier, that moment between what is and what shall be. Harrison Owen, who invented open space, has always said it's not about open space. It's about the power of self-organization. Mm-hmm. So I think Derek really nailed it. When I read Josh's book, he's telling why things need to change. Open space is that intermediate step for how the change can start. And we don't know. We don't know what's going to come out of Minneapolis. But it's already been life-giving for me just to be able to show up and play with these people and to think about this incredible space on Nicollet Island in the middle of the Mississippi River, an old power plant that's been restored for events. We have the space. It's the time. And how do we invite leaders and workers and people from nonprofits and government agencies and communities? That's the question. We have something that can give you a 15,000% on productivity, and yet how do we sell it? So my question for the leaders out there is, what would it take for us to actually engage you in our conversation and to actually consider opening space, whether it's attending our event in Minneapolis or any other form of opening space? There is a community here ready to do all of this, and we're excited about it.
Thank you so much, Linda. Yeah, there's that sense of invitation. I feel that, yeah, I mean, I think Harrison was a visionary in his time, and we're just now starting to catch up to that reality. And I think we're forced to change. We've been complacent for many years, but now, because of the times, you know, living on the past, as Derek mentioned, no longer fits. We are forced to change, and I think this is what is hurting the most right now, where leaders were used to working under certain parameters or certain control methods, and they are looking for answers. So I think, I mean, not to overemphasize, but I think that's what the promise of open space technology offers. But you know, the leader is only as good as the person is going to show up, and not like a doormat. And that this sense of, we don't have a title, we don't have you know, we're all on the same page. There's no hierarchy. We're all talking to each other as human beings, and this is about humanity. You know, being in the spirit flow. But that takes a lot of humility, I think, and obviously some leaders are better at it than others. It's not a power thing, it's not a control thing, it's just like, guess what, it's about people, and we've heard that before, but you know, there are countless examples out there, but there are some organizations that are really having a hard time with this, and I think this is where open space comes in. But it only takes one leader. Like for the leaders that are looking at us right now and are listening in, going back to the initial question, which is, what can I take away from this? What can I do once, you know, the 5 of us are done, that, you know, I carry with me tomorrow morning when I work? Or, you know, not to use that sort of distinction between work and life. What can I do? What can I do that's under my sphere of influence to help move the needle forward? I mean, 30 years of going in circles is done. We all agree. Let's say it. Let's move it. Let's do it. So, to me, HR Rockstars is about reinventing leadership, you know, the landscape, one leader at a time. So, I'm posing this as a last question for us to consider, and, you know, answer it whatever shape and form you want. You know, I want to empower myself, and I may feel at loss, like I'm in a job or I'm in a workplace where it is life-sucking, as Josh said, but how can I bring back life into my work? What can I do even if I feel like it's, you know, difficult, or You know, so whoever wants to go, you know, and we can go through all of you, but I really want leaders to feel like, okay, yeah, I am not alone here, basically.
Well, you're giving just a delicious straight line there, Johann. So I'm gonna bite on it because I like sweet things. So I do believe that the world has changed from an environment that used to support all these structures that we're railing against, and it's important to respect those things for where those structures, bossing, command and control, deciding work for people, respecting those structures for environments where they do work, which these days more and more often is not too many places. And we use the word complex a little loosely, and complexity actually has a formal definition. It's not just complicated. A complex environment is one where when you take an action, it changes the context in which you make decisions about your actions. So every time you try to fix it, you've changed it, and now you've just invalidated what you know to make your actions. In that kind of environment, in this kind of environment, the world that we live in, these structures don't work. That's the problem. There are wonderful leaders out there. There are bold and courageous people out there. I think, you know, Suzanne is an inspiration, for example, for the kind of people who already know this, believe it, practice it, have had the experiences in fixing it. Great. For you leaders, you've already made the leap. Go keep doing it and help others do it. Now, for the rest of us, as an alternate item, I won't even say dissent, but as an alternate item on the menu to order, if you're not ready for that particular banquet, and you feel, you know, ask yourself, do you have some reasons why you think you can't do that? There's so many objections that I've heard. And if you have reasons why that's not for you or that can't work, great, you're a perfect candidate for what Kevin's talking about, which is experience and experiment. Go to an open space, experience open space, experience self-organization. Because what this does is this will trick your brain. And the positive deviance folks have this saying, act yourself into a new way of thinking. Don't think first, and then once you've got your thinking squared away, take the right action. If you go to an open space, if you experience open space, if you experience self-organization in any way, you will now have changed slightly the way that you think about the world. And you can start now acting yourself and acting your organization away from command and control and into systemic self-organization. You can act your way into modes of thinking that shift from command and control to respect and empower. So if you can take the big buffet, do it. If you can't, go get an experience, go get an experiment, see something for yourself that lets you realize how we can actually ride the waves and surf this world of complexity instead of trying to control it so much. So that's my thought.
Yay! Oh my God. We could almost finish on those words. You're amazing, Derek. I mean, God. Okay, who wants to jump?
Everybody else.
Yeah, no kidding. You're so
Derek summed it up beautifully for me, so
Yeah.
I'll ask.
You're so generous, Kevin. Josh, want to say a few words before we leave? We're already past, you know me. I mean, I'm scheduling hangouts, and I never respect the time. So anyway, we're just having fun.
The only thing that I would want to reemphasize for the leaders here is that first of all, leadership is behavior, not position.
Yeah.
So so for me, if you want to be a leader, that means you step up and you try to do something, right? So then you're a leader. So I'm not talking about, you know, your senior management team. I'm talking about you if you want to do this. And yeah, and the only other thing I would say is start with you. Like, start with understanding yourself and what drives your behavior, and just kind of what we talked about a little bit about earlier, and because the importance of a leader modeling this type of consciousness and awareness and humanity, I just don't think that can be it can't be overestimated, the importance of modeling that behavior.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And I'm going to allow Linda and Suzanne to say a few words, and then I'm going to mention a few things from Elaine. Well, she's mentioned, as I'm looking at the feeds here, I'm multitasking. Recap what's coming up in Minneapolis. So Elaine is asking us. So Linda and Suzanne, I don't know if you want to, because one of the things that Elaine was saying, okay, where do I go? Feel that there's a birthing of something here of open space. So feeling that she's inspired by our discussion. So and picking up on the question, what do I do? So where do I turn for events and stuff? So there's one in Minneapolis that comes up. So Suzanne, Linda, if you want to offer a bit more details around that.
Well, sure, I'll be happy to. It's June 10th and 11th, and it's here in Minneapolis. There's some information on our Eventbrite about hotels if you're coming in from out of town. And we will open it with Josh, who wrote Igniting the Invisible Tribe, Designing an Organization That Doesn't Suck. And then we're going into 2 full days of open space. And we're hoping to have people not just from corporations and other organizations, but people who are part of this invisible tribe that you are helping make visible, Johann, because we do open space with next steps. So it's not just a wonderful 2-day rich conversation. We have next steps that come out of it, and new collaborations are formed. Please think about joining us. We would love to have you there. Suzanne, do you want to pick it up from here? And
well, in terms, no, you did wonderfully well, really, Linda. And I just want people to know that the team that's here are the teams that are in your organization. And Johann asked a question, like, tomorrow, what can you do differently? So I want to say to everyone that works in a corporation or works anywhere, in open space, there's a principle. It's just a little guide that says whoever comes are the right people. And I want you to look in your organizations and just reframe a little bit from how we see each other, and just kind of really pay attention to the person that's in front of you and know that that person can be hugely engaged. And they're like one of us. Like, we're no different than the people that are in your organizations. It's just that sometimes our designs and our structures and our workloads prevent us from seeing the great potential to bring the success. So that's like the easiest little thing that I wanted to pick up on what Johann had said. I mean, there's amazing people in technology, which Derek represents. There's people that have the scope and experience of a Kevin, and with all of the wisdom that Josh brings, like such amazing awareness, wisdom, and more. I mean, they're all there. They're there, and Linda's experience, and we're all ages. So we really are a microcosm of what we want to see in Minneapolis. And it'll be memorable, it'll be productive, it'll be performing. It will surprise you. And it's like everything else. You can't learn how to swim by reading about it. You've got to go swim or go ride the bike. So
nice.
That's what I'll add.
Yay. Yes, Josh.
I was just going to say one quick housekeeping kind of detail thing. If you want the link to the Eventbrite, I think the easiest way to find that might be to go to the Work Revolution site.
Yes.
Yes.
There's an event page, so
yes.
workrevolution.org.
Yes.
And then there's an event page with a link to the Eventbrite for the Minneapolis event. Just want to mention that.
Good. Oh, I'm glad you did that, Josh, and I'm going to invite you to post it under the tribe as well. And we can certainly, load that in our feeds under the Global NBE Twitter feed for the HR Rockstars. I'm really grateful. I'm just purposefully slowing down here to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for opening your hearts. Each of you are exceptional people. You have tremendous inspiration, tremendous drive. You want to change the world. It also you make it so easy. And you know, I've been, you know, around all of you enough to say that there's a lot of depth. It's more than just a passion. It's sort of the part of your DNA. And I think you are modeling those behaviors for me, and I really want to thank you for setting an example for leaders. And I think that the people that are listening to us and will listen to this time and time again are going to go back and go, I'm getting some concrete examples here. I'm getting a better flavor for what open space is all about. I'm getting a much you know, an in-depth perspective on how to be a better leader, and I don't need to feel alone anymore because it starts with me, and I can take some concrete action. So the HR Rockstars Tribe is very much focused on open space, on being appreciative, and that is going to remain as key priorities for the next year and beyond. And so for those leaders that are interested to know more, go on Josh's website, joshallan.com. The Work Revolution is there. Read his book. Kevin is such an inspiration. Derek, I've seen you in action in New York. I mean, you've shared so many gold nuggets with us tonight. Linda, I mean, I was just, you know, thankful to be there with you tonight to listen in, and I'm certainly going to be one going back and listening carefully to everything you've said, because it felt like coming home, as you said. And Suzanne, well, gosh, like Akim, I think Akim is the master connector here, and you know what I'm saying. You know, you and I, since we've been connected, it's been just wonderful. Life is precious. Nothing happens. Everything happens for a reason, and like Paulo Coelho and The Alchemist. So I'm just going to take that book. Yeah, because you're saying, that's why I was smiling at you, Kevin, as you're the organizational alchemist. I bought that on my way to Puerto Plata, and it took a new meaning tonight. And in there, there's many quotes, but one is, the universe always conspires for us to be happy, and that's certainly what we did tonight. So on behalf of the HR Rockstars Tribe, I really want to thank all of you for your dedication and hard work and being relentless about changing the way we work and not separating work and life anymore. Two are the same. This is about humanity. Until next time. Cheers.